All right, people. So our next review is going to be for the new A24 horror movie there, Undertones there, exploring the horrors of small independent podcasters. What a huge fucking fear. So you have a character here, you have actress named Nina Kirky there. Who plays Evie there, and then also you have another actor who by name Adam DeMarco there, who just hear his voice, you actually see what he looks like, who plays Justin there, and they host a paranormal podcast there. They basically, I guess it's like kind of they do creepy pastas, I guess. Like, people know what that is. It's like YouTube where they tell like creepy stories.
They discuss paranormal stuff, and the character Evie, who's played by Nina Kiri, she's the skeptic, and Adam DeMarco is like the true believer. It's like the Mulder and Scully dynamic a little bit.
Yeah, they tell these, weird kind of creepy stories there. They have people call in and they have people who, and then in this movie, somebody sends them like these audio files, these audio recordings, and like 10 audio recordings, and they go by it one by one, and more weird stuff starts happening in the house of the character of Evie. Things, obviously in these horror movies, things appear, they disappear, these paranormal things start to become more of a reality there. And it's like these audio recordings are detailing that the parents and mothers of children there, who the mothers end up killing their children, these babies there. And then with the character Evie, it's also, this movie's a bottle film. It only takes place in the house that she lives in. And she's taking care of her sick mother there, her dying mother.
The director of this, who is Ian Tucson, this was originally a radio play before it became, a feature film.
Okay, interesting. And this director, I see here, he's going to go on to do Paranormal Activity 8. He's going to go on and direct that movie next year. So yeah, that's kind of like the setup you have of this movie. Simple kind of setup. And then it kind of, with the simple setup, it leads to it being very kind of, I think, repetitive, because the formula of the movie is she sits down, she records a podcast, listens to the audio recording with her co-host. Then weird stuff starts happening. She goes upstairs and visits her mother. Then after that, boom, she records another podcast. Weird stuff starts happening. Goes see her mother again, and it just repeats over and over. It's a lot of rinse, wash, repeat of the same kind of shit over and over again until the climax of the movie. And it's kind of, and I'm into slow burn horror movies. I don't have a problem with that. I like that Steven Soderbergh movie Presence that came out last year. Was one of my favorite movies of the year. It was in my honorable mentions there. So I don't mind slow burn horror movies if the ending, if the payoff is worth it. And I don't think the payoff here is worth it at all. And I don't think it works. What's some of your thoughts here on Undertone?
Well, I completely disagree with you about the payoff.
Well, fuck you then.
Well, for me, I was gripped in by the audio recordings, by the performance from Nina Kiri, how Ian Tucson, how he's using a lot of the negative space to set up the big creep factor, and the slow burn of it really worked for me. And by the time it got to the ending, when they get to the last recording and all of the paranormal shit hits the fan, so to speak, it got to me. It like had me gripping in my seat.
And the big thing about this movie, like you mentioned beforehand, it's like this is being marketed as like the scariest movie you'll ever hear and everything like that. A large part of the movie, it's them listening to these audio recordings of all these kind of creepy voices and everything like that. Like I said, kind of like if you go on YouTube and go to Creepypasta and do all these things, you'll hear the kind of same, somebody talking in a, very creepy kind of voice and these detailed, scary stories, you know what I mean?
Children's songs that have like scary meanings that, get played backwards for like demonic messages.
Yeah, if you find that kind of creepy, if you are one of the people who listen to the Beatles reversed and go like, "Oh shit, it's saying that Paul McCartney is dead" or some shit like that, then I guess it didn't really impact me that much sound wise. I don't think. Again, maybe that works, I think, better in a format that you're in your house alone
Yeah,
with headphones on, maybe that would be more effective, I think, maybe.
yeah, with me, I saw it in a, relatively decent theater. The sound system was working really well, and that really added to excuse me.
Bless you.
That added to the tension for me, especially when the uh when the scares escalate.
Okay. And the scares here, I mean, this budget I relatively
Mhm.
imagine is not
Yeah,
pretty a big budget is
yeah,
probably with this one.
yeah, Wikipedia, it's reported that this was budgeted at 500,000 with, additional, I'm guessing 2 million in marketing from A24.
So for a movie, I think this is his directorial debut, Ian. Too.
Mhm,
So for a directorial, I think it's solid,
mhm,
and I am impressed how they do use the budget in it, and how that kind of comes along and everything like that. So I don't want to shit on it too much there, for that aspect there with that. But yeah, I just as far as the scares and everything like that, I just like I can see why he's doing a Paranormal Activity movie. I
mhm,
think this could be like kind of like a spinoff of a Paranormal Activity movie. There, I could definitely see that. Um, but it's just not the type of horror maybe I'm into personally.
mhm,
And like I said, I think the big thing when you're building and building things, the crescendo there, and when it comes to the end, it has to really matter to go like, oh, I set through this for a reason. And I just feel like, I just feel like that was kind of a
mhm,
whimper of an ending for me there.
mhm.
I do like the performance of the lead actress. I think Nina Curie there. I do like her a lot there in it, and I think she works
Yeah,
pretty well.
this is essentially, besides, the actress playing her mom, who's played by Michelle Duquet, it's essentially a one woman show with Nina Kiri.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of a one woman show there. I mean, she has her mother in the bed there who's just sitting there just not doing anything rotten, basically. With that. And that's about it. And I feel like with the character, I mean, you don't really know much about her,
Yeah,
really all that much.
not much is explicitly said about her, but we're supposed to, throughout this whole experience that she's having with the tapes and seeing how it's affecting her in her personal life. We're getting hints about, a boyfriend. There's, hints that she's pregnant, hints of, past substance abuse issues that we have to infer through her actions and infer through her performance. And I thought that came across well.
Okay. Some stuff, yeah, you gotta maybe read into and implying there.
Mm.
Yeah. But what will be your final thoughts rating for Undertone, man?
My final thoughts. This movie really worked for me, especially just it being almost entirely an auditory experience. But the being in the theater with all of the scares, especially once it gets to the third act, that really worked for me. Nina Kiri, she is carrying this movie essentially on her back, and she does it very well. I really felt a lot for the character Evie, as messy and complex as her character is, and seeing a lot of what we're supposed to infer about her, because if you really look at her, she's not a character that I think a lot of people would like, because she is messy in the way horror characters usually are. And once it got to the third act, and I can only speak for myself in that, horror and comedy, they are the two most subjective genres ever. And when it got to the third act, it really worked for me. I was, gripping my seat. I felt my heart racing when it
Mm.
got to the scares. It worked for me. And that's all I can say. And for me, this is like a solid stream it. I think, you know, a lot of theaters, they do not do a great job at upkeeping their sound equipment. So seeing this at home, cutting off the lights, throw on like some good pair of headphones, I feel like that'll work really well once this comes on digital.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, even with all the negatives I said, I,
Mhm,
I won't go so far as like skip it or burn it or anything
mhm,
like that. I still give it kind of a lowish streaming for me. And I think it still works on some elements there with that of like the atmosphere and how they kind of build things. I think kind of
mhm,
works, and the tension, and the format of like the whole podcast and like that kind of element of bringing that kind of storytelling to a feature film stage. I think that's kind of a good idea as well. And hello, how's it going there, Rocket Melody? What's up?
hello.
I think that works as well there, and I like the performance from Nina Curie there as well. I think that's good. Like you said, it's kind of a one woman show for her
Mhm,
to kind of do all these things and react to everything like that. So I think that works too. Um, and yeah, but like I said, yeah, that to me that
mhm,
ending really doesn't pay off as well. Yeah, so for me, just a lower stream it for me. And with you, just a regular stream it.
Yeah, yeah, I quite like this movie. And I give it a solid stream it.
Okay, so 2 stream it's basically for Undertone in theaters now.